All right, here we are. Hi, everyone. This is our February 2021 coffee talk all about paid speaking. Super excited because we have Upside member, and I say it the English way, Therése Gedda, but I know that's not how you pronounce it in Swedish. It's Gedda, right, in Swedish? Yes. Okay.
You
So
got it.
I've been educated. Um, but you know, I'm in New Jersey, so I say Getta. So we have Therése here. She's an Upside member. She is a professional speaker, and there's no better person to do this coffee talk than Therése. But I don't want to butcher her intro. I'm going to ask Therése to please introduce yourself and tell everyone about your background.
Sure. So first of all, really excited to be here. And if you have questions, write them in the chat. The entire idea with this is to make it really valuable for you. And yes, I have 3 pages of notes to make sure that you get as much value as possible. So quickly about my background. So normally I would present myself in a very different way, but since this is on speaking, I grew up on stage. I was 3 when I started to perform. And for context, I did not grow up in the US. So this is very unusual in Sweden, where I grew up. I started to moderate stuff at school when I was 10. Excuse me. I realized I'm not a singer, I'm not an actress, certainly not an actress. But I love to speak. And I took private singing lessons for 4 years as a child, not because I wanted to be a singer, but I wanted to learn to breathe properly and to be more familiar with the stage. So, with all of that, I started to speak professionally when I was 19. I am almost 20 years of professional experience, both as a founder, CEO, and speaker. And I started to guest lecture at a university when I was 21. Yes, I was lecturing MBA students when I was a bachelor, because of course you do. And that's a whole other story of breaking the mold and not doing things that is expected from you. And part of that is that I fundamentally believe that entrepreneurship, which is my main lane, is limitless. And that we can create any type of company and any type of lifestyle we want if we just start with our values and our pursuits. Fast forward, spoken in 10 countries, everywhere from Paris and London and Boston and New York and San Francisco, Toronto, all kinds of places, audiences from 5 to 5,000, companies like LVMH, Apple, conferences like Web Summit, TEDx, universities like NYU, Stockholm School of Economics, and some Chamber of Commerce. That's relevant for later in our conversation. That's why I'm mentioning all of that. And today I both do keynote speaking, and we can cover what that is, and workshops. So I don't moderate very much today. Might be moderating a big event we are doing, but outside that, I don't moderate. I'm really specialized in keynote speaking in particular. And I also run Reimagines, and we help companies design and scale culture. So that's a brief overview about my background.
Yeah, so now everyone sees why I asked Therése to do this. And Therése touched on something that I think is really, really important. And she just barely touched on it. But you don't need, the special degree or the special. I mean, I know a lot of you have come to me or you've posted in the Upside, should I get this degree? Should I get this special certification? Because you feel like it'll help you boost your own stage and land, I need to write a book so that I can get on stage. And you know, we'll talk about it more, but the fact of the matter is, I know people, whether it's Therése, Claire Wasserman, a few other folks who have no pedigree, when they started speaking, they built it themselves. They had confidence in their authority on their topic, and they went for it, and they're very successful in it. So why don't we then, can you just explain to everyone, because this is really, really important, the why. Why in the world should everyone here have some sort of speaking offering? Why do you want to speak?
I'm sorry, you cut out there for a bit. So why you want to speak in the first place? That's the question?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So first of all, you need to ask yourself, what is your main goal with speaking? And what is the result you're looking to achieve with speaking? As Aaron was alluding to, it is possible to build a consultancy, agency, scalable company where part of your work is speaking. But it's really important to recognize, what's your main goal? Is it to raise awareness? Is it revenue? Is it impact? Is it giving back? And then also recognizing, what kind of speaker do you want to be? Do you want to be a keynote speaker? Do you want to be a moderator, facilitator? Do you want to run workshops? Are you focusing on the masses or niched audiences? I don't focus on the mass audiences. I'm a niche speaker, and I cover very specific topics. But you can be much broader. And we do need a lot of voices, not just in the speaker industry, but generally in the business community. And your story has a lot of power to it. And your expertise is valuable. It's just a matter of how do you show that to the world. So I can give you, this took me a while to get to this point, but today, my main focus is company culture, okay? And within the future workspace. And we deliver this knowledge, expertise, wisdom, cases, all of that in different vehicles. So it's through speaking, so keynote speaking in particular. It's through one-on-one. So this is work with founders and CEOs one-on-one. And then me and my team, we're doing projects. So cultural projects on helping companies design and scale culture. But it's all under the umbrella of culture and the future work. So you can use speaking like that, but you can also do it to raise awareness, as I said, to have as a real revenue stream. And we will get into how do you do that shortly. But that's the starting point. So why speak? Well, it's more like, I would like to flip the question and say, why not speak? And recognizing that speaking doesn't need to be intimidating. One thing I like to do at events or at universities or whatever is that I have them talk about a question or something I post. And this is even in big audiences, like 1,000 plus. Have them talk about something, and then I randomly pick people to stand up and to share something. So what happens then is that you demystifying speaking, and you sort of put a shock in their system, but also recognizing that it's not that bad. Sometimes we just need to jump in the water. We are expecting the water to be so cold. So we're building up this idea in our mind that, oh my God, the water is so cold, I'm going to freeze to death. So sometimes you just need a little push. And I do that occasionally at events, and recognizing that it's not that bad, it's not that hard. And if you have the courage to pursue speaking, that is a huge competitive advantage, because we do know that a lot of people have fear of public speaking. So that can be a huge advantage for you.
Okay. Well, yes, I always had a fear, but I pushed myself. I was saying this when we were warming up before, little by little. So I had a huge fear. It goes back to my childhood, a childhood trauma situation of embarrassment. And I just never would speak in front of people ever, even like 5 people. So I just started with a small group of 10, built it up to 30, built it up to, I just kind of built it up. You don't have to jump into like the giant freezing cold swimming pool right away. You can put your toe in first, then your foot, then your leg. That's what I had to do to build up my confidence, because I did have a serious lack of confidence in speaking. So let's talk about, what do you need? So now we all know we want to be speakers, and we want to be paid speakers. What do you need to do to lay the foundation and prepare to be a paid speaker?
Yes. So I'm going to break this down into different pieces. So first of all, we have the assets. So as an example, we can have a speaker page. If you want it to be inspired, and there's a lot of ways of doing this, but if you go to my personal page, theresegedda.com, and then speaker, you can see an outline on how it can look like. And what's in there is show reel or speaker reel. I will get into what this is in a moment, but just want to give you the overview. So a speaker page is helpful. Show reel, short clips, and a speaker portfolio. And then if you have testimonials and logos and all that stuff, of course, helps as well. So what's a show reel? A show reel is like a short commercial almost of delivering you as a speaker. And you can take clips from different speaking at, and you basically put them together to one little movie. It's 2 to 3 minutes or so. You can add music. I think the music we added is customized for me from some person that worked with us back in the day, but you don't need to have that. You can just add any music or any voiceover, if you will, but it's important that the show reel is delivering you. And again, think about this like a trailer, very similar to a movie. So you're presenting yourself as a speaker. Our show reel is decent. It's not mind-blowingly amazing. So you can certainly do a better one than we have out right now. Short clips, this is between 10 and 20 seconds, and this should be on your page. And the idea there is that when bookers, let's say that they already know about you, they just want to make sure that you can speak, they wouldn't necessarily check your entire reel. They want to go to one place, and you will see that on my page, where there is short, small clips, and you're just delivered right off the bat. So you basically cut directly to when you're speaking, and you want to show different types. So I think what we are doing is there's keynotes, there's me in panels, because I'm still open to do panel discussions occasionally. And you want to have it from different places, basically. And the portfolio, the idea with the portfolio, so there's two types. There's the sheet and there's the portfolio. Both are good. I prefer the portfolio. It's more information, but it also depends on your buyer, and that's really important to recognize. A sheet is basically just an overview, like your bio, the logos, so where you're spoken, if there's any testimonials, the topics you're covering, any press, stuff like that, like one sheet. The speaker portfolio, and again, if you go to my site, you will see that we have a speaker portfolio, and that is basically a PowerPoint presentation that you can, flip through. And there's pages with very detailed talks. So it's not just that, oh, I talk about culture. No, I have a signature talk, and then there's specific talks under. So building out these assets is really important. Fun story though. I was speaking for 10 years. I didn't have one video or barely photos of me after 10 years in the space. So a lot of the stuff you see is from the last 8 years or so. And we started to build it up gradually. Pro tip, bring your own camera to events, mic yourself up. I haven't done that now because I know this is recorded, but normally I would mic myself up. And so make sure that you collect your own content as you're doing different gigs, and then you can repurpose that later or add it to your reels or your short clips. So that is the assets. Number 2 is the topics or talks. So I mentioned signature talk. This is the main talk you want to deliver, the go-to talk, the one thing you keep talking about over and over and over again. Of course, mine is on culture. But you can also have topics. So again, as just an example, and you can do this in different ways. We touched upon this in another coffee talk or another value add session with Aaron a while back. But it's basically, what do you want to be known for? So think about it from more a holistic perspective. Like, what do you want to be known for the next decade or so? And preferably we want to pick 1 to 3 topics, and then we are funneling our talks and topics into that. So an example, we have 2. So culture, future work, and then the high achiever mindset. Can I, in theory, talk about other things? Yes. Am I asked to do that sometimes? Yes. Is that a good idea? Sometimes. The other thing here is it's really important to know your audience and your dream persona. And the dream persona, who's your audience member and who's your buyer. And it might be multiple. So your dream persona, it can be you can call it dream client as well. When you're designing all of this, you want to keep him or her in mind. Like, you're designing all these assets towards your dream persona. And also remember, if you're writing up a talk, like a talk description, that needs to work both for the audience member and for the buyer. So a lot of the other assets is for the buyer versus a talk. They might just take your description, so your headline, your subhead, and the description of the talk. Sometimes there's key takeaways. They would just take that and put that on the website or send that out to the audience members. So just keep that in mind, that you're writing it towards the audience members, but the rest is for the buyer. Number 3 is the customer journey. So this is a little bonus here, but I do want to share it with you because a lot of speakers are not doing it. And if you're doing it, huge competitive advantage. So what's the customer journey? Someone wants to book you. They see you somewhere, they see you in media, they see you talk somewhere, they see a post, they're like, oh yeah, this person is incredible. We need to have her or him speak. Great. The starting point can be a form. So you always need to get some type of information about the client, just like you would with any other engagement. But in speaking, it's pretty common that you have some type of form where you're asking for like, okay, when, what's the audience, what's the time, what's the type of engagement, so keynote or workshop or whatever it might be. And you might also want to ask a couple of personal questions, personal in the sense that is there a specific goal you want to achieve and stuff like that. So the first step in the customer journey from the buyer's perspective is the form. Okay, you get the form, you say, yes, this is great. I do want to explore this opportunity. You book a discovery call. And the discovery call is like a pre-call where you make sure that this is a good client for you and you're a good speaker for them. Great, you agree and you send your contract. They sign, they pay, everything is good to go. It varies a little bit if they pay upfront or if they pay 50%. That is a negotiation. So do what makes most sense for you. So we have the discovery, and the discovery is probably pretty close to when they fill out the form. Fast forward, the talk might be months out. That's very common. So you want to do a briefing call before. So what do you do in a briefing call? In the briefing call, you make sure that, especially if it's a company, but even if it's a conference, if there's other speakers talking, where you are in the program, is there something that has shown up the last few months that is really important to pay attention to in your talk? Is there certain words you shouldn't be using because it's taboo now? Or is there certain things they want to push? That's the whole point with the briefing call, okay? Then we have right before you go up. So live, of course, is a little different. Online is a different process. But if it's online, we still need to do a tech check. So we do that right before, because you never know. If you do tech check like days before, tech might not work when you're supposed to deliver. So you do a tech check. And the funny thing there is I did one not that long ago, and they had a professional team, but there were still a lot of challenges to get the session going. So be aware of that. And if you're doing it online, make sure that you have a professional studio-like setting. So good mic, preferably, a good camera, good lighting. But also a pro tip there is to have your main computer, and then you have, I don't have that right now, but because it's not that type of talk, but have a computer next to you so you can sort of access your slides or your notes or whatever on the side. That can be really helpful. I've done that multiple times. Another pro tip is, unless you see yourself in the camera, is to have a mirror behind, because especially if we don't have any people, it's wonderful to see your beautiful faces here. So I can see a little bit of some of your reactions. And yes, Iris, I'm looking at you. But if you don't have that, sometimes they don't allow you to do video, which is stupid in my mind. We still need to bring the same energy, and that can be really hard to do if we don't have something to mirror back. So pro tip is to have a mirror in the back if you don't have that opportunity. All right, so we have the tech check, and then we have the delivery, of course, the keynote or the workshop, whatever it might be. After that, we have a debrief call. And the debrief is basically just talking to the client saying like, oh, thank you so much. This is so amazing. Okay, great. But it's also an opportunity for you to upsell and to explore if there's other things they want to do. So you deepen the relationship. So that is one way of thinking about the customer journey. The form, the discovery call, the briefing call, the tech check, the delivery, and the debrief. As you hear here, this is not just an hour. So when they are booking you for an hour, we're not pricing it as an hour. We'll get to that later. Final thing on this question with the foundation and the actionable steps. So bring your magic and your uniqueness. Okay, what do I mean? Well, think about it like this. What is it that the client is struggling with right now? And what is the result or impact you are bringing to the client? So focus on the result over the delivery. A lot of the times, they don't necessarily care if it's 60 minutes or 55 minutes, or if it's if you're adding video or not. They are focused on the result, and the result can be reached by asking them two questions that Two questions that very few speakers ask, but can help you a lot. And again, make you stand out more. So what do you want the audience to feel after the engagement? And what do you want them to do? So ask the organizer or the booker or the buyer, what do you want the audience to feel after, and what do you want them to do after? And then as you design your talk, you keep that in mind. So those are some of the overviews of the foundation. That was a lot of information, but that's how I roll.
That is awesome. I'm like, this is so cool. I hope you guys are all taking notes. So let's just talk about something real quick, because you just gave a ton of information, but let's just go backwards for a second. Let's say someone is starting from zero. They're starting from scratch. They don't have a speaker reel, nor can they put one together because they don't have the assets. What are the steps? Like, let's go, day one, I want to be a speaker. Like, what are the steps you need to take?
Yes. So I know for a fact that you don't have a blank page. So start where you're at. Have you worked for a company before? Have you had clients before where you have given value in any type of speaker style, if you will? So we are starting to build it out. Remember, my first engagement, I was 19. And yes, I had 2 years of running my own business at that time. And I was asked to speak about actually culture, funny enough, but culture from both from a company perspective and from a national country perspective, and talking about the differences there. Never done that at that point. So when you are starting out, but again, really recognize you have a lot of stuff you have achieved already, and that can be used here, just repurposed. So if you have logos, that helps. If you have endorsements, that help. The speaker reel can be done in a lot of different ways. So right now we are in COVID times, and it might be harder to be booked in front of a big audience. But of course, we can record like a video in our home, preferably with some type of nice background, maybe not a white background, basically. That's better. But the idea is that when they're booking you, they're looking for your energy. So if you don't have a lot of assets, and remember, for the first 10 years, I didn't have any. I barely have any photos of myself, damn it. So, so I've been there, I know it. But now it's different with technology, with our phones, all that stuff. They are looking for, okay, what type of speaker are you? What kind of energy do you bring? Are you leading with humor? I have very sarcastic humor, so I downplay my humor because most people are not sarcastic. So why do they book me? Well, I'm quite direct, I tell stories, and it's all about actionability for me. That's very much my speaker style. And I break down complex stuff and make it simple for people to understand, especially in culture that is seen as very fluffy and unattainable. And it's not. Can be, but in our world, it's not. So it's really important to recognize you're not starting from a blank page. Start where you're at. If you don't have a lot of pictures, just start to build it up over the years, and start just to record yourself, not with a selfie, so put it on a stick or something, so you can basically show your body language, and if you're using a lot of body language, or if you are more of a serious speaker and sitting down and anything goes. It's really important that this is authentic. That can be enough. And then specifically, what topics are you an expert in? And you can use some of that into your speaker page. So if you've been covered in any media, you can use that on your speaker page, because again, they're booking you as an expert. And since I know Erin well, and I know the upside well, I know that all of you have amazing achievements. So just lean into them and allow them to shine through on your speaker page as well. It doesn't matter that you haven't spoken in 10 countries. That's not necessarily a selling point. A selling point is more they're booking you for specific reasons, and it might be your story, your expertise. You've released a book, you've written an article, anything like that. So start where you're at. It's all good. But my idea of sharing all of that information of the assets is that you want to build towards that, because some of these things will help increase your rates later.
Awesome. Which brings me to, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I believe there's 4 types of speaking engagements. There's the corporate speaking engagement, there's universities, there's conferences and like associations, and corporate, universities, conferences and events, and then associations. Yes, those four. Can you break down the nuances of those four types for us?
Sure. So first of all, let's call it businesses instead. So it can be, because it can be startups too, right? It doesn't need to be big corporates. This can be boardroom engagement. This can be talks for leaders. It can be offsites. It can be workshops. It can be whole programs and series, right? So some of these things, like if you're delivering a program, that can both be labeled under your consultancy or your speaking. It sort of depends on the client. So recognize that if you're booked for, let's say, a town hall or opening speaker, sometimes it's a matter of unifying language. But let me give you an example. So I was booked for opening an event. People were flying in a company. They were flying in people from 5 countries, and this was the annual thing. And I was the opening speaker for their like 3 or 4 day weekend. And one of their main themes was learn more. And the entire idea of bringing me in was to set the stage and sort of get people excited and welcome them in to this 4 or 5 day weekend on this topic. So there specifically, that was the main goal. And then, of course, I would add other things like more wisdom on peaking performance and how it works with culture and a couple of other things, right? But the entire reason for putting me on stage there was to opening it and getting them really excited to attend the rest of the event. If it's a boardroom, it can be that you're brought in as an expert. Let's say, okay, we're looking at what's the latest with finance, or what's the different trends with finance? What's the different trends with marketing? What's coming after COVID? What's culture like? All of that stuff. You're brought in as an expert, and it's more like, it's not so much like a whole talk. You're standing there on stage and like, woohoo! It's more of a conversation. But we also have, for instance, with leaders, we're bringing leaders together from a different from the company, but different units. It can be unifying language. So one problem a lot of companies have is that they don't have the language to talk about certain things, especially not culture. And if you don't have a unified language, it's very hard to do anything about it. Same with innovation, same with entrepreneurship, same with transformative change, digitization, all of that stuff. Big topics, really important, almost impossible to deal with if you don't have a unified language. So this is something you could do as a speaker. Or they just want to have entertainment. Go ahead.
As pricing conversation across these 4 particular topics. So like, corporate, we're going to talk about like, you should be paid. Like you should never be doing, I don't know, I think never should be speaking for free at a company. And then, university and conferences and then associations, and sort of touch on how the pricing works across all 4 of those.
Sure. We will get to pricing in a second. But right now, can you still hear me, Iris? Great, thank you. Because I think Aaron froze here, at least on my end. Okay, you're back. Here we go. Great. So before I get to the pricing piece, let's just go through some of the other highlights for the pieces. Universities, just know that it can be executive education, MBAs, adjunct, guest lecturing, or partnerships. And as an example with the partnership, we're doing a partnership with Lowell this spring where we are delivering a workshop series. So it's Reimagine and Lowell are delivering a workshop series on innovation and culture to people in the Boston area in particular. So there's a lot of variations when it comes to universities. It's not just you showing up to class and saying something, right? So I just want to put that out there. Conferences and events, you have the invitation only, smaller ones. I've done a lot of those, all the way up to the bigger ones. And again, pre-COVID, the small ones was about 100 to 200 or less than 200 basically. The mid was about 250-ish or 500 people, up to 2,000. And then the bigger ones all the way up to 50,000. Web Summit was 50,000 at one point. It's very different reasons why you're speaking at conferences, but those are the variations. And then associations, that's you have the Chamber of Commerce as an example, and it's a way to establish yourself in a specific space. This is the one I had the least experience with, even if I've spoken in front of them maybe 5-6 times throughout my career, but that's not what I specialize in. Regarding, why are we doing this? And are we getting paid? And how are we getting paid? I'm gonna get to pricing in a moment. But it depends. So going back to your original goal, why are you speaking? Are you using it for awareness, for revenue, or impact? Is this a lead gen activity? Is this a way to build up your roster and your portfolio to get some of these accolades in your bio? Or is it specifically for revenue? So I'm not a big fan of saying never or always. It depends. But generally speaking, we need to recognize that if we are delivering value, like if we're delivering value to any company, any entity, generally there is an exchange of something. And in our society, we tend to exchange money. So that's pretty straightforward. I do want to touch upon a couple more things here. There's a big difference between Europe and the US. So now when I'm giving you the perspective, just remember that this is explicitly for the US. Europe is a whole other story. And if you want to know more about Europe, feel free to drop questions about that. But this is for the US market. The US market is much more mature when it comes to speaking. The rates are significantly higher, but you are evaluated very differently as a speaker. And there's pros and cons with both markets, basically. Now, do you want to move on to packaging and pricing?
I do, but I'm also curious about how to maximize, because this is important. I want everyone to understand how to maximize a speaking opportunity that is unpaid, or like, a lot of these conferences, or a lot of them are unpaid, or, how do you maximize that opportunity when you're using it as lead gen?
Yes, so you want to be strategic about it, right? So let's say that you are working with, you're working towards CFOs. So speaking as a finance conference on something that is relevant for you, where you have the CFO in the audience, might be really valuable to you. And you might not want to charge, or you might be okay not getting paid for that because you have a captive audience that are buyers, right? Are we still hearing me, Iris? Great, thank you. Okay, Aaron froze again, I think, on my end. Excellent, thanks so much. So we want to acknowledge that sometimes we can use it as a lead gen operation. But let's talk about, if they don't have a budget. First of all, if they don't have a budget, what can you get? You can get a video endorsement from them. You can get professional filming from them. You can get their logo. Am I still here?
Yeah, you're still here. Aaron's going to hop off and hop back on. But yeah,
okay.
Continue, Therése.
I can't see myself now, but you got a cover, I assume. Okay, great. Thank you. You can get the video material. You can get it as a lead magnet. Just make sure that you don't pitch, but you talk about your value indirect. That's generally very important. Unless you're brought there to pitch, then of course you should pitch. So there's pitch events as well, and there is other type of events that is very important to recognize. Where am I? There we go. So it's not black and white. It's not straightforward. Like saying that you should never speak if you're not getting paid. Again, it depends, but it needs to be relevant for you, either because it's a cause you really care about, or if it is a direct strategy to get in front of the people that are potential buyers. So that is very important to recognize there. I don't know, Monique, should we carry on here with packaging and pricing?
I believe Erin just joined back. Let me spotlight her.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Excellent. So you missed all of the, what you can benefit from for not getting paid. So just so you know, we have already covered all of that.
It's okay. It's
Okay. Packaging.
no, it's good because I already know.
Go ahead. Right. All right.
No, I said no, it's okay. I already know the.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So let's talk about packaging and pricing. So first of all, some of you are familiar with especially the ones I met one-on-one and help with packaging and pricing in the past for other things, the power of three. So this is not very typical for speakers to do, but if you do it, again, you have a competitive advantage. I've heard horror stories from friends of mine in the industry, especially agents, that have told me that sometimes a company book you and they believe that they have access to you from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. in the evening. So we need to put stuff down and sort of give them boundaries, to use one of Erin's probably favorite words. And we need to be very specific on what we are delivering. Some of the stuff I mentioned before in the customer journey, you can put that in the packages, okay? But let me explain what in the world is the power of three and how can we use it? Power of three, there's a lot of psychology that goes into that, and I can talk about that for a long time. I will try to do it really briefly. So we have a small package, we have a medium-sized package, we have a large package. If we are packaging this right, 75 to 85% will go to the one in the middle. Okay, about 10% for the small one, 5% for the big one. It's really important that they are presented side by side for the psychology to work. The small package is the teaser package. The big package is the anchor package. Subconsciously, we will compare the different prices to each other if we have them side by side. You're driving them to the one in the middle, and the one in the middle is the one we want to deliver. So when we're filling out these packages, we are adding that we're doing this. We're doing the briefing call. We're doing the tech check. We might even be available for questions from the audience. Yes, that sounds like why wouldn't you? About a third, and that data is not exact, but very general. A lot of speakers are divas. So if you're not a diva, and if you actually care about the audience, that is something that is unique. So we can put that in the package. So the fact that you're available for questions is a unique opportunity for the organizers to add extra value to the audience, okay? So we want to put that in the package. So, and of course, we are not calling them small, medium, large. That is just a way, that's the framework. And then you fill it out with content. So as an example, the small package can be the part of the customer journey, as I mentioned, and then the talk. The mid one can be that you are recording a video before the event and saying, hi, we're so excited to see you, and talk about X, Y, Z. And they can share this with the people that are attending the audience, the conference, or the people attending it from the company perspective, like a customized little video. I've done that several times, and it's highly appreciated, and it's quite unique. And then we have the rest in the medium package as well, of course. And then in the big package, we can have a workshop and a keynote. That's happened multiple times where the organizer, especially corporate conferences, are looking to book you for both. So they have you as the keynote one day and a workshop leader another day. You want to put that in the package, and you want to show them that you can deliver both if you want to, mind you. So don't put stuff in the packages you don't want to deliver, only deliver the stuff, and only put stuff in the packages you want to do. But the whole point here is that when we're doing it like that, let's say that we're pricing it accordingly, right? So in an example, the small package could be like a 3K. The middle one could be 5K, and the big one could be an 8K or even a 10K, maybe 9 for the psychology to work, but somewhere around there. Right? And when we're showing it like that, we're showing them that they are getting a lot of value. They're not just getting the 1 hour talk from us, because we are professionals and we know how the industry works, and we're going to deliver a lot of value to them. And the second thing is that, again, you're limiting the risk of them hijacking your entire day. And this happens more on-site than online, but it is something to do keep in mind, especially as you're growing in popularity and people are requesting more from you. And we again want to put that in the package, but the packages can be anything from 2,000 to 100,000. Now, pricing. So what are the different levels? I know that is something Erin asked me about a lot. So let's get to that. So as you're starting out, think about it in different brackets. So we have bracket 1, and it's about 2,000 to 10,000. Then we have 10,000 to 15,000, and then 15,000 plus. And then over that, there's other brackets, but it's a little bit more advanced. So if we're assuming that we're starting out, make sure that you are not underpricing yourself. And again, don't price it as your hourly rate. The market expects a certain level. So if I would just say, you know, if you would ask me like, where would you recommend to start? Start with 5. 5 is a good place to start for a keynote or for a workshop, and then build from there. But as you're hitting the next threshold between 10 and 15, they might be more interested in your bigger packages. So your mid package or your large package. And remember, you can put other stuff in your packages as well, right? You can put that you're available for media interviews. Going back 2 years, I was booked as a keynote speaker at an event. And after, as part of my delivery, I was available for the audience to talk for another 2 hours after. That is long. So the organizer's like, oh my God, we have her for 2 whole hours. We're going to put her in a live stream. We're going to put her in 3 media interviews, 2 newspaper interviews, and 1 live radio interview. Yes, I've never done radio before. That was interesting. And you could build that into the packages as well, right? So remember that we have the prices like that, and don't price it at your typical hourly rate, because as you see, there's a lot of more outside the 1 hour delivery that goes into it. On that topic, a keynote can be between 45 to 60 minutes. I've done keynotes all the way up to 2.5 hour plus, and I've done small ones that is 15 to 20 minutes too. The organizer doesn't generally pay more or less if it's a 20-minute or a 45-minute. Don't think about it like that. You have a keynote and you can deliver it in different formats. The shorter ones are harder to do, so you might actually want to bump up your price for that. If you only have 20 minutes, well, it's a whole other type of talk than if you have 45 minutes. So that is something that is very important to keep in mind. In case you are not really sure if you want to do it, or you are flattered but you're not really sure how to interact with it, you can always say, I'm very flattered, this is a great opportunity, but I'm so booked, I can't possibly do it for free if they say they don't have any budget. More or less that language can, and this has happened to a lot of my speaker friends over the years, when they send that back, they were like, oh, but let's just get back to you. And then they come back with something, right? So don't just say, they say that they don't have any budget. They might have budget, it depends. On that, recognize the difference between you being paid, are they looking to book a speaker or are they looking to book you? If they're looking to book you, you should probably double your prices, okay, for that specific engagement. And on that, don't put your prices online, preferably. That is, it's like a proposal type format. That's generally better. If they're booking you, they are looking for you specifically. You're irreplaceable. But if you're looking for a speaker, then they're looking for someone that can fill the slot to talk about specific topics on that. So the pricing, our main price list should be for if they're looking to book you as a speaker, not you. And if they're looking for you specifically, you bump it up, okay? Yeah, that's a quick overview on speaking and pricing and packaging.
That's awesome, Therése. So just a couple sentences, if someone's never been a speaker before and they're just starting out, what would you suggest they charge for that first speaking engagement? What's like the bottom of the barrel? 2,000. Okay. All right. Awesome. So,
and remember that you are connecting it back to the value and the result of the client. You can speak for free again, but if you're speaking for free, there needs to be a lot of upside and there needs to be a real reason for you to do it. It can't just be that, oh, they guilt me into it. And also recognize that it's really important that sometimes they are using speakers to get credibility. So of course, you need to do research on the organizers or the conference. Do you agree with their values? Are they good people? And we have turned down a lot of opportunities because the values didn't align, right? So that is something else to keep in mind. Just because you get a speaker request doesn't mean that you have to say yes, and don't be overly flattered, because again, you have spent your entire life get to the point where you're now, and they are paying for your brilliance in this very moment. So don't be too afraid of walking away from the table as well. I do have a couple more things to cover, but do you have more questions, Erin?
Yes, I have one question concerning the same topic. The question is that I've heard people say, I'm going to speak at this big corporation, this Fortune 50 company, because I'm going to do it for free because I want the logo on my website. Is that valid, Therése, or is that silly?
If you are employed by that organization, or
No,
if
no, no,
you
no, no.
are, no, but if you
Yeah,
are,
not
fine.
like one of these people.
If you're not, would they do that favor for you? And if they would, maybe it's worth it. If they are opening an opportunity for you, if it is an opportunity to show yourself for the entire management team, and that can lead to a big contract later that can be worth hundreds of thousands, that's why I say yes, maybe. But recognize that, especially in the US, value of you and compensation is very much linked. This is different from Europe. Okay. So if you are accepting to speak for free, and you're saying that, no, it's okay, I don't need to, well, whatever that would have been, let's say it would have been 15,000, it's 15,000 that is in their pocket, not your pocket. That money can be spent in a way you could have control of money and spend it in a way that is empowering for yourself or for whatever you're about, right? So think about the opportunity cost. And again, sometimes we are doing it to give back, especially in the startup community. That is not atypical, that big people are coming and contributing and giving back to the next generation of founders. But if it's big corporations, unless there's something extraordinarily special, I would advise not to just say, okay, I can speak for free. No, don't do that.
Thank you, Therése. I just needed you to say that. Because
I know you did. I know.
No, I feel like a lot of people don't listen to me. I'm gonna take. We had more to talk about, but there's only a few minutes left, and I know there's some questions, so we're gonna do like lightning round of questions.
Yes,
Oh,
but before we do that, I do need to tell you something else. Yes, this is important. Okay, you need to know your market. So let me just list a couple of things, and then in your mind, make a note what is more impressive, right? Okay, so speaking at the same conference as Michelle Obama, spoken in front of 30,000 people, 20 years experience, spoken in 10 countries, spoken at Apple and LVMH, spoken at the Next Web and the Web Summit, made $2,000 per minute. What is most impressive? And that depends, right? That is all things from my background. But the pitch, what matters. So for the US market, media, they value media a lot, for good and bad. So if you have any media, pull that up there. If there's any big names, and I'm not a big fan of this, but it is what it is. If you have spoken or shared stages with big names, use that. Include that in your pitch or in your presentation. I think it's more impressive that I've been spoken for a long time versus that I've spoken at, I'm not going to give examples here, this is recorded, but there's certain things I personally think is more impressive. But the market thinks that some of these more quote unquote superficial things is more impressive. So just know that they do like the logos, they do like the big names, they do, both individuals and companies, but also know your market. And you don't need to have it in order to start with what you have right now. Yes, okay, fine, we'll do questions, and I can go over a little, by the way, if we need to.
I know there's so many. Monique is going to take over questions only because clearly I have an internet problem. So Monique, take it away.
All right, so the lightning round. We have Beverly Wallace asking, can you repeat what you said about anchor packages, and what did you call the other two packages?
Yes, this is very important. So the power of three, we have the small, medium, and large. Okay, the small one is a teaser package. It's like a starter package. If they're not sure, they just want to try it out, they go with the small one. The big package is an anchor package. So subconsciously, when we have three prices next to each other, and there's a lot of studies on this, but if you're comparing 2,000 to 5,000, then suddenly 5,000 sounds really kind of expensive, right? But if we have 2,000, 5,000, and 9,000, 5,000 sounds like a pretty good deal. So you don't call it anchor package, it is an anchor package, and you're using it to drive them to the one in the middle. And 75 to 85% in general, and this, by the way, the beauty here is you can use this for coaching, consulting, and any other pieces to your business as well. Do recognize though that that is one way of doing it, and then you have the proposal, and the proposal is like a customized list, and you'd build it differently. So you can use both. But for speaking, the starting point is always good to have the power of three and these different packages in it. And they also showcase the client that you are unique and you're not a diva, which is a competitive advantage.
Thank you. Okay, and then the next question is from Liz. She says she loves public speaking and has done so her whole career, but she has no reel and would love to do it for revenue. How would she start outreach, and who would she pitch to hire her for this? She would do a niche keynote.
I would need more information to help with that specifically, but if you don't have a reel, just record yourself in your home with some type of nice background. Just don't hold the phone yourself. Just put it on something so they sort of can see your body language. And do a teaser, or just do a couple of different clips with different outfits, and then put it together, and then you have a reel. Yes, it's not a reel on stage, but again, we are in COVID time, so people are much more fine with having stuff in apartments. So that's not necessarily an issue in itself. Where to start, it sort of depends on, like, who do you want to talk in front of? What is your offer? How does this tie back to your goal for the year? There's much more nuance there that I would need to have in order for.
I guess what I meant is, I think if it were for, it would be for revenue. Hi, I'm finally back. So if it, Bella, you're awesome. This is awesome. If it's for revenue, would I then just do like the corporate route, like no universities, no, et cetera? Like where if you're niche, if you're doing it for revenue and it's the niche keynote one that you laid out, which of those buckets is it?
The easiest is definitely business. Yes, absolutely. Universities is a longer game, and getting those partnerships can take years, and it's taken us a long time to get this deal with Lowell. And that ties back into our decade philosophy and strategy anyway. Conferences can be very lucrative, but right now it's different since it's online. Associations, I wouldn't necessarily go there. Business, certainly it. Think about packaging it both as a keynote or a workshop, and that if you have the ability to do both, that is awesome. And then look at the value, like what's the problem they are trying to solve, or what are they struggling with, and how can you be the catalyst to help them achieve whatever they're looking to achieve. So pitch it as you would pitch anything else. Just use some of the language and the structure I talked about today, so they understand that, oh, she's a professional speaker. She knows how the speaker world look like or what to expect.
Okay, this is awesome. We're making this a lightning round, everyone. So we're gonna move through the questions. Monique, I accidentally hit the wrong thing. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
Still okay. Okay, the next one's from Racine. She says, thank you so much for sharing your perspective. Can you repeat what you said about how to leverage past speaking roles at prior jobs to inform your speaker sheet / reel?
Yes, so we don't start from a blank page, right? So if you have worked for whatever company, you put that as a logo and you say past engagement or previous collaborations or whatever language you want to use. And because it's true, right? You have engaged with this company in the past. So they are not necessarily just looking for where have you spoken before, and especially not from an American perspective. They're looking for, is to use the American expression, is this person for real? Can he or she deliver value? And can I trust that there will be, it's worth our time and worth this investment? Another thing I do need to mention there is, let's say that you are booked to do a 10,000 gig engagement, and they're putting 100 people in the audience. The biggest cost for that is not the 10K, it's the opportunity cost of the 100 people sitting in one place for 1 hour listening to you. So the investment the company is doing is putting these people together for 1 hour. And let's say that the average hourly rate for them, let's say that they are executives, is about 500 each. You can just do the math, 500 times 100 people. That is the real organization. So just recognize that it's really important that you don't undersell yourself, but the organizations are really looking for, can we trust this person? Does he or she knows what they're doing? And can we ensure that if we're putting this person in front of our executives, that it will be valuable and we won't lose all of that time that could have been spent somewhere else. So just recognize that. It's not so much as the fee from you, it's the entire focus on having everyone focus on one person for X amount of time. Monique.
Okay. Next question is from, oh gosh, everybody's saying thank you to you, from Dr. Carol Pactame. How do you think about, or what do you think about speaking for podcasts?
It depends on your overall strategy, right? It's just like contributing to different publications, to show up on Clubhouse, to do office hours and stuff, or running your own webinars. It needs to tie into your overall strategy for the year. Like, okay, you have specific years for your business, and how can these different activities support your goal for the business? So that can definitely work, but I wouldn't do it only for speaking. It might be a way to broaden your awareness and getting you as a thought leader. And if you get recognized as an expert and thought leader, of course, that bump up your price as well. So absolutely, it can be valuable, but it depends on your overall strategy. Monique.
Okay, next question from Michal. You touched upon this with Liz, but how do you find speaking opportunities and how do you pitch yourself? Do you have any other
Yes, very happy to hear that you asked that question, because that was one of the things here, do's and don'ts. So one of the things to recognize is understand speaking bureaus. So generally speaking bureaus are pitching big names where they can make a lot of money. So speaking bureaus, not most of the speakers I know, including myself, we don't have great experiences with them. Don't go there. However, what's important is, imagine this, and especially from an American perspective, you have someone that have almost 20 years experience, has spoken in front of 30,000 people, and have all of these logos and awards behind him or her. Would that person really pitch themselves? From a European perspective, this would be a non-issue. From an American perspective, this can be an issue, because from a perception perspective, if you are so incredible, you're expected to have like an assistant or an agent or something in between. So understand the optics. So I'm not saying that you need an agent. You can work with an agent, but you can hire your own agent. I've had my own agent in-house in my company in the past, but you can also just have an assistant, but have someone that is pitching you. Because if you're pitching yourself, what tend to happen, especially for an American audience, is that they were like, yeah, but if this person had this pedigree and is so incredible, why would he or she be so available? Like, it's a very odd thing, but just know the optics. So that would be one thing. Yeah, and do pitch, but have a team member pitch you to different conferences. We used to have these lists of, like, I don't even know, 500 plus conferences where I was pitched all the time. And that is normal. The same with corporates. But with corporates, if you have opportunities to utilize your network or get recommendations, introductions, all of that, especially in the US market, of course, that's better. Pitching cold can be harder, but also know that if you're covered in media or a podcast or wherever, people sometimes find you and they say, oh, we want to book you for this. So that happens regularly as you build up your speaker assets we talked about right in the beginning. Monique.
Okay, we have 4 more questions left, and then we'll end it with Erica. The next one is from Sally. Do you ever post your full speeches on YouTube or anywhere else? I can see it helping a new speaker to gain traction, but also then it's out there for free. So not sure if it precludes folks from hiring.
So what we haven't talked about at all is the actual content of your speaking. So it depends. I would say some speakers, especially comedians or people leaning a lot of comedy, they have a tendency to be very unhappy with things being filmed and put online. For me personally, I think there's one full keynote. I think we put two. One for a small one and then for a conference, plus the reels. Again, we haven't done a lot on me here, so don't use me as an excellent example there, but it's a starting point. But it's not necessarily a problem. But I wouldn't just put it out to put it out. You need to put it out for a reason. So we allowed one talk I did on Upstart was a conference years ago. It was well filmed. That was part of the deal. And it was talking about culture in a wide sense. And there were certain things I did not put in that delivery that would be proprietary. So just know if it's filmed, and of course, we haven't talked about licensing rights and stuff like that. That's a whole other conversations. I know there's lawyers in Upside. They can answer that more better than I can. Don't be too afraid of it. You need to have some material out there, but don't put out everything you have. I don't even know how much video material we have on me now. It's probably hundreds of hours. And we can utilize some of that more, and we probably will, but we're not going to put everything out there. So just pick and choose. It's better that you have a clip from an engagement and you put that online than the entire talk. Monique.
Next question is from Merritt. Is it worth putting a reel together just from online speaking if they don't have in-person footage yet?
Yes, absolutely. Start where you have. Start where you're at. Great. Whatever you have. You can even, again, record yourself. Just put down some lighting, have a couple of lines you want to say. Like one of my opening lines is, culture can be designed, but it takes the decision to design it and to design it well. That could be just a little short clip or reel, like with a little bit more gravitas maybe, but you get my drift. Monique.
Very nice. And then next question is from Mickey. How far ahead do conferences typically look to book their speakers in terms of us thinking to approach them?
It's everything from, it's rare that they book last minute. Sometimes they have a cancellation and then they can book you like 48 hours before that. Yes, that's happened to me. I was booked and put on a plane with 48 hours to go. That's not normal. What's more normal is 3 to maybe 14 months. Now with COVID, it's a little hard to say because we don't necessarily know when everything is going to pick up again. But I wouldn't be surprised if you would be booked for 2022 now for live events, I mean. Of course, you can be booked online. People also have an expectation with online that you're more available. I got a request yesterday from someone and it's for April. And we are in February, so that's pretty quick. So it sort of depends. But you can always pitch them. And we did this when we had an internal agent. We pitch conferences and you build relationships with them over time, right? And we haven't talked about touring either. There's so much more to talk about, but let's hit the next question.
Okay, I missed this question. This is from Randy. Do you price differently based on number of attendees, and how much time do you allocate for keynote/workshops?
How much time in delivery or in preparation?
How much time in delivery? Like, is it a 60-minute, 90-minute, half day, full day? And you're awesome,
okay, got it.
By the way.
Thank you. All right, so keynotes have a tendency to be somewhere between, the lowest end would be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, all the way up to 90 minutes or so. That's pretty typical for a keynote. A workshop, it sort of depends on what you're covering, but typically minimum 2 hours, all the way up to 8. I've run 8-hour workshops, and yes, the team member were sort of blown away with how long we were going. It sort of depends on the company, right? But typically, yes, you can do half days, and half days would be 3 to 4 hours. And full days would be 6 to 8 hours. Typically, that's the most common. Generally, the reason why the company care about that is they need to block off the time in the calendar of the people. It's not that they are gonna if you're saying, oh, it's a 3-hour workshop and it's 10,000, and then it goes to 4 hours, you still charge 10,000, right? It's not the hour here and there. It's, again, they are interested in the result and what you're delivering. I'm sorry, there was another piece to that question. What was that, Randy?
You change your pricing based on the number of attendees.
Right. So it depends. For conferences, no. For only for businesses, basically. So what's pretty common is that if you're doing a workshop, you have a base price like 5K, whatever it is, and if there's more than 20 people, then you are you're adding like $50, $100 per person or something like that. That is pretty common to do right now. For keynotes, no, it's not. It doesn't matter. It's better that you bump the price up than adding per individual joining. Monique.
Okay, last 2 questions. So next one is from Erica. How do you know if they're booking a speaker or booking you?
Oh, it depends on how they write the email and how urgent it is. I can give you an example. So to go, so I was featured in the press, and with this stupid title like, oh, she makes 2K per minute. It was a short talk. It was just a couple minutes. So it sounds really dramatic. It was a short talk. So that was featured in Swedish media, and I don't know how much you know about Swedish society, but that is pretty unusual. So someone saw me. They wanted to book me for this office space, like an incubator accelerator office space somewhere. And the board member was very like, okay, we need Therése, and we need Therése for January, and we need her on January 19th. And we just need her. It's not just another speaker. So of course the booker was trying to negotiate, and it's like, no, this is the fee. Like, yeah, but we can do X, Y, Z. I could walk away, right? Because I knew that they were asking me and wanted to book me because this media thing, again, a little superficial in my taste, but it is what it is. So if they have a conference and they're like, okay, we need a marketing speaker here, they're probably not booking you. But if it's a company and if it's your brand and your expertise and your brilliance, well, they're booking you. So just priced accordingly. It's not straightforward. Sometimes they tell you like that, oh, we saw you here, or we've been recommended. That's a really good one. Remember that in the States, again, recommendations and introductions is key. So if someone have introduced or recommended you, they're more likely to want you than just any speaker. Because the other thing to recognize in corporates in particular, not just startups so much, but the corporates, when someone is booking you, they're taking a risk, they're betting on you, right? So they need to make sure that they're not getting fired from that or getting a yelling from that. So make it easy for them to say yes by showcasing your brilliance in a format that really resonates with them. So just pitch what the market wants, even if you think it's cringe, which I do sometimes. Nick.
Okay, last question from Lori. Instead of hiring someone, can I just use a different email for my company and send it as that person?
Absolutely, why not? I like it. It's a hack.
Yeah. And that's it for questions.
That is a hack. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much, Therése. You are always so generous with your time and your advice. And this is, I mean, you really are the expert in the upside on this. I don't think we have any other members who've done as much speaking and paid speaking for as long as you have, as much as you have. So thank you for bringing your expertise, your brilliance to everyone here. I know for a fact people are going to walk away and have more confidence, make better deals, make better negotiations, and make more money because of what they learned from you today. So thank you very, very much. And I appreciate everyone's patience with my horrible Wi-Fi today. I've had neighbors texting me this whole time being like, is your Wi-Fi out? So it's not just me, just so you know, it's everybody on the street. Thank you so much, Therése. Thank you, Monique, for stepping in with the Wi-Fi situation. this will be recorded. It'll be archived. It's there for you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Have a great rest of your day.
One second.
Wait.
Your clubhouse room?
Wait. What?
Dare you share your clubhouse
Monique,
room? Oh, can you hear me?
No, that was not how I was planning to close. So first of all, thank you for being here. And I know there's a lot of information. You can use the playback to just go through it again. And if you have questions, I'm in the community. And as I said in Ask Aaron Everything session yesterday, I do believe in the community. There's a lot of brilliance here, so I'm happy to help and contribute. The big thing is just start where you're at. You already got it. Speaking is just another way of sharing your expertise to the world, and it doesn't need to be a big deal. It's just you sharing whatever you already have, right? So start where you're at. And please send me all the comments. I would love to read them later.
Oh, we're sending them.
Thank you so much.
We will be sending them to you. They're awesome. We're also going to make sure we post Monique will make sure we post Therese's website when you post the replay. And I'll make sure to also post your website when we archive it, because you did reference your website a few times. And I realized that if people watch this later, they may not catch what that is. So we'll make sure everyone knows where to go to look at your stuff. Thank you, everybody. And thanks for going over time. I appreciate it. There were a lot of questions. We didn't even get to everything, just so you all know. We even left stuff out, but jam-packed, awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.